28 years later, The Bone Temple. This is my spoiler review. I have a spoiler-free version of this review up. That's over at soundedbettermyhead.com, so if you want to check that out instead of this, before this, or whatever is more fun, go for it. I end up giving this a 2.5 out of 5. I think that was reasonable. I know a lot of people seem to be really liking it. I am not one of them. I had a lot of problems with the last 28 years later. I don't want to go too deep into it. I do have that review floating around somewhere, if you want to check that out. But the short version of it, I thought it was kind of uneven. Like, the father-son, it's basically a coming of age story for this kid, Spike. The part of his father is kind of like, Then the section where he's with his mom is a little bit better. When they finally meet up with the doctor, I think the movie, finally clicks, and finally he's like, all right, I actually enjoyed where we got in this story. And then the ending was just batshit crazy, pretty much, and they lost me. So going into this new one, I was actually shocked that, Spike was basically the main character of the first film. He's in it, but he's barely in it. Like, he's not really participating. He's mostly in the background crying and being scared, and he doesn't really get much to do at all. It's like it's no longer his story whatsoever. And then the film basically divides into basically two different stories. You got Spike's story, which is really more Sir Jimmy's story. The weird guy that showed up at the end of the last film, and his team of Jimmies. And then the other stories with the doctor, with Ralph Fiennes' character from the first movie. The Jimmy's section, I think, is kind of the weaker one. It's just, I know what they're going for, but gets kind of overly cruel and it's like kind of hard to watch some of the stuff. Like, they cut away enough so you're not seeing some of the shit. I mean, even the scene where Spike stabs one guy in the leg and it ends up being an artery and there's this blood splattering everywhere. Just the way it's done, it's just so, this guy's like begging for his life, basically. His blood's just shooting everywhere, and everyone else is kind of laughing at him. It's just like, ooh, that's kind of dark. And like, especially, you're supposed to be watching Spike, that's supposed to be your point of view character, and he's just getting drenched in this guy's blood as he dies. It's like kind of freaky, it's, feel bad for Spike. It's like, oh my god, this poor kid. And another thing about this movie in general, there's really not that much of the infected in it. Like, it's kind of like later seasons of like Walking Dead, where it's like, oh yeah, and some walkers show up in an episode, but it's more about the people versus people kind of stuff, and you get a lot of that in this movie. Like, there's infected, but they don't, just kind of like, they pop up, do something, and they disappear. It's not as much of like they're the main threat anymore. Even for like the Jimmies that are like wandering around, what's left of the island. But anyways, there's section, like I said, I wasn't that invested in the characters. It was just kind of like a Clockwork Orange vibe going with their group, where it's like they're just sadists, and it's like, okay, I don't really care. I just like to see them all get killed, but poor Spike's caught in the middle of it. And then the second half of the movie, which ends up being a lot more interesting, and only because I think Ralph Fiennes' performance, Samson the Alpha apparently has gotten addicted to the morphine that the doctor had been using to tranquilize him, basically. And it gets an interesting thing where he's kind of doped up enough that the rage subsides from the rage virus, and he's actually just a tiny bit starts getting his humanity back. It's a little cheesy. It's a little like, okay, like, we've seen zombie movies and similar things where like the infected maybe start kind of like showing signs of their old personalities, but it usually goes wrong. Usually, like, they still become murderous, but I really like the way that they slowly bring him to like a point where like and then he basically seems to cure him. Like, I don't know, it seems like the pills that he gave him would have wore off eventually, but at least temporarily he was cured. So it was interesting. I don't know where they go from there. I'd rather not follow up on his character. Wherever he goes, wanders off, that's fine. And to be honest, I was kind of done with this movie at the end. I was like, all right, everything wrapped up halfway decent, and I'm done with this franchise. But apparently, there's probably gonna be a third movie. And I'll get back to the post. It's not even post credit, but the final scene in the moment. Another thing about these two stories, the Doctor and the Jimmies, initially, you know they're going to come together, but you don't know how, and it's like, well, how are these two kind of completely different stories going to come together? And it's just kind of semi-randomness. It's like, oh, they stumbled on the doctor more or less, and those come together. Visually, the movie looks pretty good overall, but I love the end sequence where the doctor basically has to trick everyone into thinking he's Satan, with all the fire and all that stuff, and the music and the dance number and all that stuff. He just went to town in that sequence as it was, and then visually it looked stunning. I thought easily the best part of the entire film. A little tiny bit cheesy at times, but overall I thought that was really well done. Another weird thing that gets kind of dropped too. There's a point where the Jimmies take over this little house, little farm or whatever it is, and the one woman, we're really focused on her. She's trying to get away, and eventually she does. I'm like, okay, she's gonna be an important character for like the film. Like maybe she's gonna run away with Spike, which is hinted at one point, or she's important to the story. No, she fucks off and that's it. Like we never see her again. So that was kind of weird. The only thing she really did was help. She basically killing one of the Jimmies, and then her boyfriend or whatever ends up killing another one, and that was about their the extent of what they did, or what she did to like the story. Also, as I was starting to talk about the directing a little bit, I know the first film they took a lot of wild swings to like intercutting like old military footage and like weird like psychedelic kind of trippy shit and like here and there, and like a lot of like bullet time cameras with the kills, and some of it worked, some of it made it like the movie kind of stand out, and some of it I think was a little bit too much of a swing. Really don't have that this time around. It's a little bit more straight up directed. There's a little shaky cam stuff sometimes for like the infected run around, but for the most part it's a little straight up. Again, it loses a little oomph as the last one had, but it also doesn't detract because it doesn't go too far like the other one did sometimes. Suppose we talk about the end. We do see that Cillian Murphy's character for the first film is apparently still living out in the island, and then he has a daughter now. And Spike and the what's her name? Jimmy Inc., the one good Jimmy, they're running away from some infected, and they're gonna go save them and whatever. Which is kind of weird. Like, 'cause it kind of shows like the Jimmies are like absolute badasses. Like they didn't seem to remotely fear the infected. They were like ninjas. They were flipping all over the place and taking them out, and they were just having fun. It wasn't even a challenge, and it's kind of weird to see that she's running her from a bunch of infected. Like it seemed like her character could have mopped the floor with them, and just for like plot convenience, they had to run from them. I mean, eventually you probably get too many, but whatever. Another nitpick, plot convenience, whatever you want to call it. The way the virus works is always kind of vague. Like when you get the rage virus, that's it. You're just immediately angry, and anyone that's not infected, you're going to try to rip them to shreds. Fine, that makes sense. Whatever reason, when they see other infected, they're cool with them. They're like, all right, you're cool, and they just ignore them, or I don't want to say they hang out with them, but they do tend to kind of travel together. But like, how do they know that the other person's infected? Like I don't know. Do they somehow detect it? How do they know that someone's got the thing? Because could you run around going and trick them? Like, because also in the second film, the mother is a carrier, so she does have the virus in her, but her husband, when he gets infected, murders her. Like so he's not detecting that she has a virus in her. He still kills her, but she wasn't acting like it's infected. She was acting like a normal person. And then when we get in this new film, when Samson is cured, like at first they're unsure about him, but when he speaks, all the other infected start attacking him. But he's got the virus in him. He's still got the crazy eyes. Even when they start fighting him, he's ripping arms off. He's throwing them around and angry. And he's pissed off again. Like, what was the trigger for them saying, no, okay, he's not one of us anymore? Just like there's an earlier scene when someone else gets attacked, and you could tell once it starts affecting him that he starts getting affected. They immediately stop going after him. Like, what? It's a nitpick, but it's like, what is the criteria for like, okay, you're one of us as opposed to you're one of them? It always throws you a bit in these kind of movies. They even do it a touch, and they try to get on it like The Walking Dead. Like, how do the dead know the difference between the dead and the living? And it's like, well, they smell different or whatever. But then I'm getting off a whole other franchise here. But then even like when you get to the Whisperers, it's almost more like as long as you walk like one of them, they'll think you're dead, like another zombie or whatever. So I don't know. It's a nitpick. That's why I'm kind of glad not to see any more of Samson's story if that's possible. But who knows what's going to happen if they do another movie. But overall, my overall impression of the movie, I think it starts up a little slowly because I don't. Not only do I care about, end up caring about Spike's story because it becomes a Jimmy's story. It's so sadistic and so hard to watch. It's like I don't want to be here. And then the doctor stuff is good. You're just kind of worried that trying to befriend Alpha isn't going to backfire and he's going to get his head ripped off. But since it doesn't happen, that's fairly rewarding. When the two stories come together, it's actually better than I thought it was going to be. And the end was fine. Like I said, I don't need any more. But there is a tease of something interesting where it's like, okay, I guess I want to see the guy from the first movie come back again. But I never had that strong desire. Like, well, I want to follow up on him. It's been so long since that movie came out. But I think that's the gist of it. I just wanted to get into some more specifics that I had likes or dislikes about in the spoiler review that I cannot get into with a non-spoiler review. But other than that, I do have other reviews up. YouTube, all my spoiler reviews are here. My blog, soundedbettermyhead.com. I got mostly non-spoiler reviews for movies, TV shows. I got a comic strip that I do, so if you want to check that stuff out, go for it. And other than that, thanks for watching.